1-2, swinging a drive toward right center. Back goes Robert, back near the stands. That ball is gone. A game-winning home run for Chris Morel. Can you believe it? Listen to this crowd.
Welcome back to the Brotherly Cubs podcast. My name is Zach. I'm your host. John is actually out today. He is coaching in a tournament, and so I think he just got back. We're here today to talk the Cubs prospects, and we're talking MLB Pipeline top 100 prospects. They just gave us an update, and the Cubs have 8 of them, folks. The Cubs have 8 top 100 prospects. So I'm very excited to talk about it. Let's get right into it. So our first prospect on our list, PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, he is number 15 on the list. Again, this is all of MLB. The Cubs have 8 on the top 100 list that just got updated. PCA is in the top 20. And the way we're going to go here through our 8 prospects is we're going to go through like our top 4 that make the top 50. These guys all sort of have ETAs of getting to the big leagues in 2024. And then we're going to go through another list of some younger players. They're just slightly younger than the top of the list, but those folks will all be in 2025 or later. Okay, so PCA is up in the big leagues, and let's just say he is not having a good start to the season at AAA. 28% strikeout rate. We know he doesn't walk a lot. Only a 633 OPS, 2 homers and 7 ribbies. PCA was not really having a great season. He got up to the big leagues due to all the injuries. And with Bellinger breaking his ribs and Seiya getting an oblique strain, PCA was almost forced up. Now Alexander Canario, who is not on this list, he is a top 30 Cubs prospect. He was up first playing left field, did not have a good showing. He was sent down. PCA was kept up as Bellinger and Seiya Suzuki got healthy. So the Cubs are rolling out Bellinger, Suzuki, Tauchman, and PCA. PCA has speed. He so far has 9 stolen bases on the year combined across AAA and the major leagues. So far, the MLB, he has a 708 OPS. He actually has a higher OPS with MLB. 1 homer, 9 RBIs, and an 18% strikeout rate. So earlier we said he had a 28% strikeout at AAA, 18% with the big league team. So the Cubs are really reaping the benefits when PCA gets to play out in center. He's playing a little bit now that Ian Happ has been struggling and he's been benched. So PCA got an opportunity today. He looked good. RBI, sac bunt, and a triple and scored on a sac fly. Tremendous work by PCA out there, and the defense is always really good. Gotta love it when he gets home to third in 11 seconds. Getting that triple today in the gap. Great stuff to see. The next prospect on our list is Cade Horton at number 19. Cade actually put up something like, I think, a 1 point something ERA with AA. And so far in the season, he has a 3.86 ERA in 23 innings. Right now, he's up at AAA. He has 29 strikeouts and a 1.29 whip. He did have a 1.1 ERA at Tennessee in 16 innings. You know, Cade Horton right now has had a rough start to AAA, still very early in the season. Some analysts are projecting Cade to go maybe 3, 4, 5 more starts, maybe another month, make it up to the big league team. We'll see if he goes into the bullpen, or we'll see if he has room to start at this point. There have been so many injuries. I forgot to bring that to the attention of the audience here that the Cubs have 15 guys, have had 15 guys at any point on the injured list this year. Keegan Thompson had just gone down. There's a tremendous amount of injuries the Cubs have been facing. That includes in the rotation Steele, Tyone, Jordan Wicks, Kyle Hendricks, virtually the entire rotation. Asad Imanaga and Javier Assad. Those 2 guys have been healthy, but the rest of the rotation has been hurt. Will Cade Horton may get his opportunity if there are more injuries? We'll see if he can improve his time at AAA. Number 37 on the top 100. And if I didn't mention it, Cade Horton is number 19. So Cubs have 2 guys in the top 20. Owen Caissie is number 30 on the top 100. 838 OPS, 3 homers, 21 RBIs. We'd like to see his power creep up a little bit. The 21 RBIs is pretty encouraging. 17% walk rate, folks. That's elite type numbers. Great eye by Owen Caissie this year at AAA. His first time at AAA. He's only my computer would work here. He's only 21 years old, and PCA is only 22. Horton is only 22. So no one on this list is older than 22. Fascinating stuff. They can barely drink. That is how young these guys are. MLB Pipeline lists Caissie's ETA as 2025, but I think he has a chance to make it up to the big leagues with this particular team. If Ian Happ struggles anymore or gets on the injured list, you could see a way of Owen Caissie forcing his way up. Right now, Owen Caissie, like we said, the power is down a little bit. Last year he had 22 homers. This year only 3. But, in 135 at-bats, he's maybe only on pace for, 15 home runs. Obviously, that is going to creep up. I expect him to hit around 30 home runs this year. We'll see if he makes it up with the big league team. But there is definitely an opportunity for the Cubs to give Owen Caissie a chance at some point. And speaking of opportunities, number 44 on the top 100, Matt Shaw, we think will get an opportunity this year because he plays third. Dansby Swanson is currently out with a knee injury, should be back soon. Nico Horner is battling hamstring tightness. Christopher Morel seems to keep fouling balls off his foot and getting injured left and right. The whole infield is injured. Madrigal and Mastrobuoni are playing in the infield last couple days. So Matt Shaw will likely get an opportunity at some point this year. 704 OPS, 3 homers, 17 RBIs, a 16% walk rate, almost as high as Owen Caissie, and only a 21% strikeout rate. So this guy's got a great hit tool. He's walking a little bit more this year, a little bit more patient approach, a little bit less power. He was a very aggressive hitter last year, but he's kept his strikeout rate down. So you're seeing more patience from Shaw, better selective eye. We like to see that, and we know the power will come back. So he's number 44 on the list, playing third base at AA. And number 54 on this list is Kevin Alcantara. He has a 27% strikeout rate, but last year he had a 33%. So he's starting to get a little bit better in terms of his eye. 4 homers and 8 RBIs. Alcantara is only 21. So we're at the point of the list now where all the ETAs are after 2024. The Cubs have Alcantara on the 40-man roster, and he currently only has a 633 OPS. So he's having a bit of a down year. I mean, if we look at some of these guys and just were to eyeball it, PCA is having a down year, Matt Shaw a little bit of a down year, and definitely Kevin Alcantara, who had a very, very, very slow start to the year, but he's starting to pick it up just a little bit more. He's a speedy center fielder. I had mentioned earlier, if anyone doesn't know, Owen Caissie plays right field. We might see him play left or first. As you know, PCA is our center fielder. Cade Horton is our starting pitcher. And Alcantara is going to play center, but he may play all over the place once he does get an opportunity to play with the big league team. So right now we're seeing still some swing and miss from Alcantara. Not a ton of RBIs, or really not a ton of the OPS numbers, down a little bit. We'd like to see that creep back up pretty soon here for his time at Tennessee. Number 61 is James Triantos. So the Cubs have almost 5 dudes in the top 50. Incredible stuff. And we haven't even mentioned Michael Busch, who's basically graduated from top 100. He was a top 100 prospect with the Dodgers, and I believe he was somewhere in the 60s there with the Cubs when he got traded. They have removed him from the top 100. He is with the big league team. So, you're actually seeing guys pretty soon. PCA is going to graduate. I think he'll get time back at Iowa, but he also may graduate this year. At some point, Cade Horton is going to graduate. We may not see that for a while. Jordan Wicks was never a top 100, but he's certainly graduated from prospect status this year, especially once he gets healthy. So back to Triantos at number 61. He's the Cubs' 6th best prospect out of the 8 they have in the top 100. Tremendous work by Triantos this year. More slug, the 802 OPS, 3 homers, 19 RBIs, only a 5% walk rate, but that's buoyed by an 11% strikeout rate. That is insanely low. It's the lowest in the system for the Cubs among their top 30 prospects. Insane work by Triantos. He's your second baseman, third baseman. He's going to be utility infielder. I think he has a role in this team in terms of that high contact bat, kind of like Nick Madrigal. We'd like to see him walk more, but again, the 802 OPS is extremely encouraging. They'll probably take their time with Triantos. He is only 21 years old. He got to AA last year, and so he's getting a full year in this year. Perhaps he can make it up to AAA, as they call it, a cup of coffee. This is Triantos' best slugging year so far at 472 slug. So just love what we're seeing so far from some of these guys. Triantos is definitely not having a down year. You can see last year he had a 755 OPS. So his OPS has been climbing. We like to see it above 700, and he's a full 100 points higher than that so far with about 125 at bats. Most of the hitters here are over 100 at bats. Next on this list, the Cubs have added 2 gentlemen to the top 100. They made it into the 90s. That's Moises Ballesteros and Jefferson Rojas. These are our younger prospects. Ballesteros is only 20 years old at AA. He has an 841 OPS, which is even better than I thought he would do for a young 20-year-old at AA. 11% walk rate, 12.8% strikeout rate. Just tremendous bat to ball skills. His strikeout rate is that very similar of Triantos, and the 11% walk rate, you got to love it. Earlier we talked about Shaw and Caissie being up over 15% walk. Seeing Ballesteros with the low K and a high walk rate at 11 is tremendous. 4 homers, 19 RBIs for Triantos. He's a catcher, and he's going to play some first base and obviously DH a little bit. So last year, Ballesteros started at Myrtle, actually. So he really did climb quite a bit last year. He started at a single A Myrtle Beach, climbed to high A South Bend, and then made it up to the double A Tennessee Smokies. And he only had 21 at bats. Again, a cup of coffee. Shaw, Alcantara, Triantos, Ballesteros, they all made it up to double A with their cup of coffee, and now spending a whole year up there now in advanced ball. So what we saw last year with Moises Ballesteros was an 823 OPS, and the previous year was 812. So right now you're seeing him stick around the 800s in the OPS and improving. Tremendous stuff, and a 469 slugging. I mean, just great numbers all around for this guy. He's a little bit shorter on the shorter side, and I've heard that his defense at catcher is not tremendous, so it's going to be hard to see, can he play first if he's that short? You know, he's only 5'7", so maybe some catching duties, backup catcher, think Victor Caratini, heck, think even Wilson Contreras, think catcher that's maybe not a strong defensive catcher in terms of framing, but a really good hitter. So this guy's going to DH. He's going to be definitely your backup catcher, but he's going to get appearances catching. I suspect they'll have him up in 2025, especially in terms of the catching depth. Aside from Pablo Aliendo, Miguel Amaya is struggling offensively this year. So the Cubs would like to have a good offensive-minded catcher to come up and back up Miguel Amaya once Yan Gomes has left the organization. So we mentioned that Moises Ballesteros is at number 94, just snuck in. Another guy who barely snuck in a few spots in is Jefferson Rojas. This guy is on the hype train right now. Number 98 on the list. He's our 8th best prospect on the list. He's only 19 years old at high A South Bend and only a 15% strikeout rate, around a 700 OPS, 2 homers and 22 RBIs. I was surprised he only had 2 homers. The 22 RBIs means he's pretty much on pace for about 90 RBIs where he's out with at bats. So he's 130 at bats. Jefferson Rojas has been just absolutely hyped up right now, and rightfully so. He made it as an 18-year-old to Myrtle Beach, was not in rookie ball long last year, and he is tearing up South Bend, guys. He is 19 years old, and I imagine if he continues on this path, with his good contact numbers, if he can just get a little bit more power, imagine they'll want him up at Tennessee, even as a 19-year-old, maybe at the end of the year. That way his age 20 season, he can spend the whole year at Tennessee, just as Ballesteros is. So these young guys are really making their way up through the system with the hit tool. And we'd like to see him walk a little bit more. But again, the RBIs, tremendous stuff from him. So that's the next big step for the Cubs is as they get some of these guys coming up to the advanced levels of ball, where will the next sort of tier of prospects filter in at the lower levels? There's lots of pitching that the Cubs have brought in slowly. You'll see a guy like Jackson Wiggins, who's a second-round pick the same year as Matt Shaw last year in 2023. So we will start to see these guys perform a little bit more as they get healthy, and we're eventually going to see PCA and Cade Horton graduate. We already saw Michael Bush graduate. These are really good things. If one or two of these guys hadn't graduated, they'd have like 10 on the top 100 list. So the Cubs have the most prospects of any organization in the MLB Pipeline top 100. The next closest was 6, and I believe it was either the Rockies or the Orioles. So this is obviously great news for the Cubs. They have been able to churn out these prospects. Right now, you're seeing guys like Miguel Amaya. Justin Steele was a famed Cubs prospect. The Cubs just actually traded Jake Slaughter, who was at one point, a top 30 prospect. They traded Jake Slaughter for Tyson Miller, who was an old prospect from 2019 to 21. He is a reliever with like a sweeper and a cutter. The Cubs are sort of just churning these guys out right now, right? I know there's others that I can't really think off the top of my head. Nico Horner, obviously, he's a main player. Christopher Morel. So you're starting to see these homegrown players come up. Javier Saad dealt today. He looks really good. Jordan Wicks is hopefully going to be healthy pretty soon here this month and pitch in the rotation. So even with Wicks, Assad, Steele, guys like that, there's plenty to be excited about in terms of prospects. I'm very excited for Cade Horton to eventually make his debut. I'm thinking in June or July. And maybe he pitches out of the bullpen, maybe not. We'll see. That's certainly an opportunity for them to slowly bring him on and him on an innings limit. We saw Ben Brown today. That was another guy I forgot about. He looks really good. So the Cubs are bringing these guys up, and they're here. This is our moment. This is our window of contention. And so I'm really excited to bring the news of the top 100, the 8 Cubs prospects. Very proud of these guys. I'm very excited to see them blossom with a big league team. For now, that is all we have today. Please follow us on Twitter at Brotherly Cubs. We are on Spotify and Apple Podcast as well. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.
Listen to this crowd.